Morning all, how are we doing? Sorry, I'm late this morning. Wasn't ready this morning. Late, no excuse. Morning Steve, morning JC, Peter, George, Perk, Christian, Monkey, David, Virginia, Stefan, Amy, Danny, Baggy, everybody, welcome aboard. Right, news this morning. We've just had the pound claimant count change, which has gone up. So that's a tricky one to unpick because it's indicative of unemployment rising, which is the desired outcome of interest rate increases, which brings inflation down, which drives up unemployment. So not quite sure what impact that one's going to have on the pound this morning. So it had a little spike, should be bullish, and it had a little spike. But it's come back down again. So it doesn't really seem to be a lot of impact on that one at all. It's for me, it's done a bit of drawdown control, which is great. So just done DD control on that position there. Well, the EA has. So yeah, that's the only news we've had this morning. No real impact on it at all. So we'll see what happens. That's the only news today. We've got the economic sentiment at 10 o'clock for the euro. That doesn't really tend to do a lot ever anyway. So that's it for news. Same as yesterday, no news day, basically. So we're waiting for tomorrow. All kicks off tomorrow. That's the big day. New Zealand dollar rates, CPI for the US, and then the Canadian rates in the afternoon. So it's all big moves across currencies tomorrow. But today, not a lot. So we will see what happens. Morning, Jerry. So overnight news. Excuse me, frog in my throat. We had Mester talking towards the end of the session yesterday. Basically just reiterating the fact that there are definitely going to be more rate hikes and they want to do them faster rather than slower to make sure that they can get them up to a level where they can hold them, which is what the desired outcome is. All this uncertainty as to whether rates are going to continue to go up or not is what they don't want. So they're trying to get the rate hikes done fast. So he said here, I would have hiked rates in June, but I understand why they didn't act. So there's a lot of consensus for more hikes. So July, we're definitely going to get some, I think, on the Fed. Apart from that, nothing much else overnight news-wise. Nothing out of Japan at all, which you'd expect because obviously we've got the desired outcome for the yen, which is powered up. That's the rates for the UK. We've got the CPI figures for Germany as well coming out as forecast. So nothing particularly to write home about there. So that's it. Vilroy is talking at the moment. Big old hammer going, shooting star going in on the pound. Looks like potentially a sell on the pound, but we'll see. Morning outro, morning Brian. So yesterday banked 1.92%. The vast majority of that was yen based. So banked some yen. I've still got the Swiss yen on. Aussie dollar yen was the day before. Euro yen was the day before. What did I bank yesterday? Pound yen. So pound yen yesterday was the vast majority of the profit. And Euro New Zealand. Yeah, Euro New Zealand, that was a 1 in, 1 out from there. So, yeah, all good. Right, let's have a look at the DAX this morning. So for the opening range breakout this morning, we've got a gap down. This is really so tricky at the moment. This volatility is dropping across these indices. So the opens are a little bit tighter than normal. Have been for a few days. We get the odd runner, but obviously that makes you a fortune, but if you can hold it. But today we've got a gap fill in either direction. So we've gapped up this morning. So there's potential for the initial gap fill at the open. And obviously we were on our way to that one, which is now within 125 ADR. So that's within reach today. if we had a really strong day, that would be within reach today, 175, but unlikely. So I'd be looking for either gap fill to the upside or gap fill to the downside. Once the gap fill to the downside's done, look for the bounce back up to the gap fill to the upside and vice versa. So if they take it long today, if you can, you could hold it for ADR. They might not even get there today. So we may get a rotation day today where we push up and just sort of hover around there somewhere. And then obviously the quandary tomorrow is which way they're going to go for the gap. So we'll see what happens at the open. We've got a fairly wide range at the moment. So as you can see here, the 15-minute pre-market, we've got that big wick and that low. So it's quite a big range in the pre-market. Decent range. Trade definitely tradable. The 5-minute obviously is not a bad size candle either. So up to you if you want to take a pre-market or wait for that initial open and then take the 5-minute ORB. We will see what they do. Right. So how big's that range? 30. Data not showing over there. Right, so we'll watch this, see where this goes. We've got less than a minute to go. 30 seconds. Just keeping an eye on this. We've got Vilroy talking right now. Not sure if that's finished, so just don't want something to get dropped just as the market opens, but not much you can do about it if it does. There's your 15. So taking the 5. Quick short. Decent support level there. Although that's not real data, that's broker data, so not really a support. So gap fill to the downside, we are looking to complete the gap around about 62 points. Too far, not going to get that. Somewhere around there is the gap fill. So there's 2R short on the 5-minute ORB. Oh, hang on. What am I talking about? Oh, I haven't got the risk reward on this. Must get it set up on this account. That's the stop loss for that buy. Sorry. So TP1, I'm just adjusting to the gap fill, basically. TP2 is the run on out at 150. Not going to get that today. Very surprised if we get that today. So let me just measure this properly. Not with it this morning. It's trouble when you're in a rush. Something goes wrong. Okay, so 1.5R is the gap fill. Morning, Miura. Morning, Mimpo. Morning, Michael. So that's the 15-minute ORB, obviously. 5-minute. You took the 5. The gap fills pretty much 4R. Have you done much testing on inside day candles before? Yeah. I have. I think that's Larry Williams. One of Larry Williams' strategies, the inside day. They work, but the problem with inside days, basically inside bars on the daily, just an inside bar on the daily chart, is you don't get many of them. If you look, I mean, just looking at the DAX here, we had one there. We had one there, one there, one there. About it. So you had four trades in 2 months, which is fine. But look what happened. Broke to the downside, stopped out. Broke to the downside. That one would have worked. Broke to the upside, consolidated. Depending on where you put your stop, which would usually be under the low of the inside bar, that one worked. That one worked as well. So you had 3 out of 4 worked there. But you only had 4 trades in 2 months. So you're looking at somewhere between 4 to 5 trades a quarter, typically. So they're great. You know, they work absolutely fine. Good investment strategy, but you can't. I mean, they're good for you if you're using your own money and you want a long-term investment strategy. Yeah, that's what Larry Williams is. He's an investor. I'm pretty sure that's one of his. Also, the 2 RSI strategy is Larry Williams as well. But again, it's a daily. All Larry Williams' strategies are daily because everything works on the daily, because everything's so slow and so real on the daily. Yeah, when you get shooting stars and hammers on the daily, it's because that's where the sellers took over from the buyers. Yeah, buyers ran out of steam. They work. They're incredibly reliable. Candlestick patterns on daily charts, wicks, are so reliable. Everything's reliable on the daily chart because you're seeing the proper picture of what is actually happening to that instrument. But you will get hardly any signals. So I trade daily on the S&P when it's in a bull calm. That's my pension fund, basically, the S&P on the daily. 4 hour as well, I've kind of tweaked it for, but yeah, good strategy. GJ thoughts. We'll have a look at GJ while we wait for the DAX to figure out what it's doing. So pound yen is a tricky one because we don't know what's going to happen with this pound news. I'm out, basically. Got out yesterday. So I think the yen has got more legs in it, basically. But it's really the market does not seem to be impressed at all with the pound claimant counts this morning. So that looks bearish pound to me. We haven't got a huge amount of yen strength. There is a bit of yen strength this morning in Asia. No follow through so far in London. New Zealand is. Yeah, I mean, I think it's still short. I think all these yens, I think they are still probably got a little bit more in them. That's where I would look. That's where my initial target was on it. But I had, I needed to get out the yen, basically. I had too much of it on. So yeah, short, I think still, but it's going to be high. It's very hard. It's hard to get a short on down here. You'd have to take a breakout trade rather than a mean reversion because you're not going to get a mean reversion because it's in mean reversion now. So you need to wait and take a breakout on it. Trouble with breakout trades is by the time you've got the breakout, market has already moved a fair distance. So the risk reward is tricky. Oh, DAX. Oh, DAX. Pain in the backs. Hide. So no gap fill yet. It's come straight off that monthly level. You can't leave that gap in place and then go for a run to the upside. That's not on. That's not cricket. Right, we'll have a look at FX while we're waiting for the DAX to decide what he wants to do. US dollar Swiss looking like a good buy off previous low. So I'm already long on US dollar Swiss. We got the monthly low coming up from 2 months ago. So yeah, it's a good looking buy opportunity. RSI extension. I got in yesterday. Sorry, not yesterday, on Friday on the RSI extension. That was a big ADR move on Friday and RSI extension. So that was first entry, little pullback, big strong push down. So that will be second entry this morning when we get the next reversal alert. So drop down M5, wait for that reversal alert to go in. 58 is ADR, 38. Tighten it. $43. I'm not going to get a second entry on that reversal alert. It's a little too tight for the EA. So ideally, I'd like this to push down and break a new low, because that's going to give us a reversal alert there. And that is far enough for me to get into 2 positions. Just going to quickly set an alert there. What I might do is take a manual on a break of that candle high, which is kind of like a reversal alert. It's kind of, it's that W pattern. But obviously the reversal alert, because we haven't had a new low put in, obviously the reversal support rectangle hasn't jumped down onto that candle. But that is a valid entry, I think. So I'll take that manually. But yeah, it looks good. But there is obviously further to go. We've got a little bit more room to go. The limit orders will be on that low or around about that low somewhere. So it may be that this is the limits triggering. You normally see a little bit more of a push and a pull from there, but see, it looks good. So there's no ADRs today. Nothing's hit at all. There's no weeklies. We are only on Tuesday. We had a lot of ADR movement yesterday, which all kind of undid itself. So nothing today to look at. Nothing there. There's nothing on the monthlies either, because we haven't had any decent movement this month at all, apart from the yens, because we've been waiting for the yens. So basically nothing to look at there. Oil, just going to quickly look at that before we get into the RSIs, because we need to know what's going on with this for the Canadian dollar. So we got the news, we got the rates for the Canadian dollar coming out tomorrow. Oil prices have been steadily rising for the last 2 weeks since we took that lovely long there, which I got out of there way too soon. But we have come up now and taken that high out yesterday, but that got rejected. So that's your next target, which is within ADR today on oil. Once we've broken that target, we're then looking to come back up into 200 ADR, which is there. So those are the next kind of stopping points. That level there is a very strong support resistance area. So 200 ADR basically there is where I would look for the next batch of shorts to trigger. However, that might have been what we saw yesterday. So if you look at what we did yesterday, we literally came straight up into Friday's high, which is the previous monthly level. We wicked through it, rejected, wicked through it, rejected. Sellers stepped on the gas and drove it straight back down again. So if that is going to be your new peak formation high, as soon as you get that reversal on the hourly, we could be playing it all the way back down into there. And again, we may play it back down into this range. Oil is stuck, proper stuck. So this range is now held 1, 2, maybe 3, 4, 5 times to the upside. From this downside low here, we've held 4 times, well, 5 really. That's twice in a week, basically. So we've held 5 times to the downside, 5 times now, or 6 times now to the upside. It's not going anywhere, is it? So if you want to get in a range short, now is the time to do it. Or when you get the reversal, or you want to drop down to M15, you've actually had it already on M15, which happened yesterday on that rejection. And it's pretty much where we are now. So if you took the short now, you're actually getting a better entry than the reversal alert signal yesterday. So stop above the high, give it a bit of wiggle room, play it all the way back down to that range low, 175 ADR. But who knows what's happening with that oil? It's very tricky. If it does break out to the upside, it's got obviously 200 ADR movement space to the upside as well. Quite a few RSIs to look at. Let's just quickly see what's going on. With DAX, seems a little stuck. $156.92. It's a totally different level on this account down there. Not going anywhere on the DAX. We're just stuck at the open basically at the minute. WIX 1R on EU so far. Quite a big range, that. Yeah. Honestly, Brian, I don't think it's a sustainable strategy. Keep going at it, but you know what I'm like. I've backtested it to death. There's not an edge on any setting I can find. Long term. It'll make money. You'll have lovely days where you'll go, oh, this is the best thing since sliced bread. And then you'll have days where you go, holy crap, I've just lost everything I've made in the last 2 weeks. There. Anyway, do you use the ORB on the UK 100? I don't trade the FTSE at all, no. It will work on the FTSE. I haven't got the FTSE on here. I think I've got the FTSE on here. No, I haven't. I haven't got the FTSE on here either. But the thing with the FTSE is the FTSE tends to be a little bit slower. The DAX is a little bit more volatile. Because the FTSE's got 100 stocks in it, you tend to find that there's more liquidity in there. The more liquid pairs tend to move slower, like Euro, US dollar, for example. So the DAX is better for fast breakouts, big candle moves than the FTSE typically. It will work on the FTSE. I just haven't bothered testing it. It's been on my list to do for ages. To test it on the FTSE, but there's not. When you look at brokers, for some reason, there's and prop firms as well, they don't support the FTSE much for some reason. I don't know why, what the reasoning is behind it, but you'll find a lot of brokers just don't have the FTSE. A lot do, but for some reason, it's just one of those indices that just gets left out. So I've never bothered because I just haven't bothered to test it, but it will work. It's the same strategy, yeah. So you will either get the break or you won't get the break, but you'll find that you might have to fine tune it a little bit more for the FTSE. The movement will be different, but at the end of the day, a breakout is a breakout. The opening cash balance on the FTSE may be more whippy, may not be. Needs testing, but test it. If you've got it, test it. Any strategy will work on any currency. August hike 25% now for the pound. 30% rather. Okay, so it was never a are we or aren't we going to increase interest rates in August? We are. It was how much. So there's now a 30% chance of a 25 basis point hike, which means there's a 70% chance of a 50 basis points hike. Yeah. So going up by 0.5% is more likely than going up by 0.25%. Basically, because the unemployment figures were up, but not up by huge amounts. But it's not the unemployment figures; it's the claims. This is the thing: the claimant count is a tricky figure because it can be a very interim figure. So the claimant count will change and fluctuate a lot more than the unemployment rate. What they're interested in is the longer term unemployment. The claimant count can be, people can claim quickly and then get a job. Yeah. So you have to wait a period of time in the UK before you can put an unemployment claim in, basically. And what tends to happen is people put their unemployment claims in, so the claimant count increases, but they don't actually ever get paid because they get a job beforehand. If they haven't got a job, that goes into the unemployment rate figures, which is why that's the one that we use. So this is an indication of whether it's gone up or down, but it isn't that accurate, if you see what I mean. So, which is why I'm not that surprised we haven't had a massive reaction, because I said yesterday, didn't I? It's very hit and miss, this one. But the market has basically said now that they're looking for more of a 50% increase than a 25, which is again massively bullish for the pound. So we are getting a little bit of a rally on the pound, but not a lot. New Zealand dollar's not very happy today, is it? It's the biggest loser today. Typical. No exposure on the New Zealand dollar. Yeah, so there you go. So yeah, go and test the FTSE. It's on my list to test. I haven't just done it. What do you think of the pound US dollar? With the pound US dollar, obviously, we are waiting for the CPI figures tomorrow, basically, on that. So today, it's really going to depend on what happens with the pound, but it's very, very, very unlikely we'll get a big movement on this thing today. They're not going to drive a ton of money into the pound US dollar ahead of the CPI figure for the US. So we're waiting. Today is probably going to be a rotation. I'd be very, very surprised to see an ADR today. We got 3 major news events tomorrow. On the New Zealand dollar, the Canadian dollar, and the US dollar. They're not going to pile a load of speculative money in today. Order execution will get done today. So if there's some big orders, we might get some big movement. But other than that, they're not going to do any speculative moves. So we just have to wait until tomorrow. Very, very quiet session today, I would expect. DAX is doing all right, though. Well, it's thinking about doing all right. Yeah. But if you want to take it, I mean, today, it's the same as every other day, isn't it? Yeah. I mean, for me, if we don't get an RSI extension, I'm not interested, or an ADR hit. So if you want to take an intraday trade today to go long or short on it, flip a coin. You go absolutely anywhere today. So flip a coin, hit the buy button, put a stop in, make sure your TP is bigger than your stop. That's trading. Outro, poor FTSE, I know, but poor old FTSE gets left out. I don't know why. It's just weird, you know. Same here. Look, I haven't got the FTSE. They give me the yen, the Japanese index, but they don't give me the FTSE. It's just weird. I don't know what it is. It's like they're discriminatory against the FTSE for some reason. But it isn't that heavily traded. This is the thing. It's not, because it's a bit of a slug. People just aren't. I don't think people just don't trade it. So it is a bit of a slug. So my Forex funds have got it. Yeah, UK 100. Yeah. So you can trade it on my Forex funds. But yeah, apart from that, not a lot. Minpo, US dollar yen. So long on the US dollar yen I am at the moment. We are going to cover that in RSI as well. So I'll cover these in a sec. I'll do them in reverse order. So we start with the US dollar yen. What would happen if you do not add the dollar profit on the hedge file and only use the ADR profit setting? What would happen if you don't add the dollar profit? Then it wouldn't close the trades out when it hit a dollar amount. Surely you can answer that one yourself. If you don't use the profit target for dollar, the EA won't use the profit target for dollar. There you go. If you want to know what would have happened in the past, stick it in the backtester. Gold. Anthony wants to see gold. Mr. Wick has entered the building. So, same as yesterday, gold is a US dollar cross. We're waiting for the CPI figure for gold for the US dollar tomorrow. This will go up or down depending on tomorrow's CPI figure. So tomorrow afternoon at 1:30, we get the inflation figure for the US. Depending on that, that will move gold. So if we get higher than expected inflation, the US dollar will go up, gold will go down. If we get lower than expected inflation, the US dollar will come down and gold will go up. There you go. Right now, looks like the sellers are selling that high. So you've just had a reversal on the lower time frame on M5. Short entry, potentially today. But as I said, you're not going to get a lot of movement on this today. Just think about it from a bank's point of view, right? When they put an order in the market, they have the same odds as us. It's 50-50. When they go, if they want to buy gold right now, it'll either go up or down, depending on what the other banks are going to do. If you have a major news event coming out tomorrow that could potentially change the long-term outlook for the US dollar for the next 3 to 6 weeks, yeah, or 4 to 12 weeks, would you put a bet on today that it's going to go long or short? Or would you wait for the news to come out and know which way the US dollar is going for the next few weeks? They're not going to do it. You're not going to get a massive amount of US dollar movement today. If you do, it's because they're positioning themselves because they know what the result is, which happens. It does happen. It gets leaked. Other than that, you're not going to get a massive move on that today. So if you want to short it, be my guest. It's in a range. You're at the top of the range. Shorting. Right. Outro. Any thoughts on gold, please? Yeah, it's expensive. I've got tons of it. I'm dripping in it. Loaded. Absolutely loaded. See this? This was £12 off eBay. Amazon, actually. And it's got crystals in it. Well, crystals, diamonds. It's diamond encrusted gold. Can you see that? No DAX on your end for some reason, Brian. I don't know. It's definitely there. Definitely there. So gap fill's on its way. Not quite sure what you mean, Brian. No DAX. Your broker disconnected it. One day, Lee, maybe if the DAX pays me, I might have as much gold as you. You maybe. If you want it though, it's really cheap on Amazon. Anyway, oh, sorry. I forgot I had that running. Star Trek game. Right. So let's have a look at the RSIs while we're waiting for DAX, because DAX is still thinking about doing the gap fill, but We are finding buyers down at this low. So this level is getting bought up. If they break this level, though, and they do hold this, we've potentially got a chance of a flush down to yesterday's low as well. So I'm only saying the gap fill is the play today because it is the closest target. We've got the previous day's high there, which is what got rejected yesterday. So there's potentially a bounce off of the previous day's high and the gap fill. But if they do break that zone, obviously there's nowhere else to go but 150 ADR today, which is yesterday's low, because it just literally flew yesterday all the way yesterday morning. Huge move yesterday, and then just flagged during New York. So there is a big downward play today, but I doubt they would want to come back down and retest that and go into a range down here with unfinished business to deal with at 125 ADR. So doesn't make sense. It makes more sense to bounce here and then go for that run up to the highs today, because that's where how they're going to make the most money today. So no feed, I should say. No feed. What do you mean feed? Anthony, I expect a double top on low time frame and go for a quick short. Oh, on gold? Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if you get, that would be the retest. So once you've had the reversal alert, as it pushes up into propulsion, not really great propulsion gap that, but it is an area they started heavy selling. So if they push up into there, that would be a good place to short it, stop above that high, M pattern reversal. But see if you get the pullback. Right, let's have a look at these RSIs. DAX isn't really doing anything at the minute. So in reverse order today, broker feed. Oh, right, okay. Yeah, if you've got a broker feed problem, that's why I always have multiple accounts. I always have multiple broker accounts, even if I'm not trading with all the brokers, but I do. Well, I trade with DOW and X and I trade with Robo at the moment. So I've always got a DOW and X and a Robo live account, and I've always got the funded accounts. So if you get one freeze, flip over to the other one so you can see what's going on. Not that it helps you, because obviously you can't. Brokers frozen the feed, then there's nothing you can do anyway. You can't trade. And always have your mobile to hand. And make sure that is logged into your MQL5, your broker accounts on MQL5 as well, so that you can emergency get to it. If you're in the middle of a scalp and your PC locks up, you lose internet connection or something, you need to be able to get to that trade. Always have a backup, especially if you're trading on prop. When you're talking about the difference between broker feed for 5 minutes costing you $5,000 to $10,000, you need to be able to get to the trade, don't you? DAX is trying again. Looking for a break of this low, so we'll come back to this in a bit. New Zealand dollar yen ADR, first one of the day. So this New Zealand dollar is really not happy today at all. So New Zealand dollar yen, if you want to take that long, wait for the reversal alert. That's got a nice tight reversal alert this morning. You are buying straight into propulsion gap though, so just be aware. But yeah, nice tight reversal alert potentially there, but you are fighting a real strong move on this yen at the moment. So next support coming up is there, which is your 3-week low. That's down at 150 ADR. So if we get 125 ADR to 150 ADR today, that would be an ideal spot to sell from, buy from. Really strong move. No profit take on this yet, and it's an RSI extension, so I will actually get into that today. So yeah, I'll be getting into that one, I think. If it pushes down a little bit further, it'd be better if it pushes a bit further. Not far. Another 30 pips, half an ADR, obviously. There's 100 ADR, there's 150 ADR. That's half an ADR. So yeah, half an ADR further down. Would be good, would be better, but take it where you want to. Right, US dollar yen. RSI extensions. So this is extended on the 4-hour and the hourly. So nice extension below the 20 level, very nicely extended on the 4-hour. Hourly, we've also got that extension below the 25. Got an entry on this one from yesterday. There was an entry on this on Friday. It did push up. But yesterday I put this one to break even. It broke even and it collapsed. I let it get me back in yesterday here because it's just another day on. So it's another ADR on. There's only so many ADR pushes a currency can do before they literally will run out of people that are willing to buy. The sellers will have no choice but to turn tail and become buyers. So yesterday I took another one. Obviously we had more yen strength during Asia. So this is pushed down further. Obviously, tomorrow we've got the CPI figures. So tomorrow, I'm not too worried about taking this one down here because this was a big move yesterday. Look, 104 is ADR. We got a 180 on it yesterday. So it's 175 ADR pretty much on this US dollar yen yesterday. I'm happy to get in on a 175 ADR extension after a 200 ADR extension. Yeah, so that was 210 pips. ADR is 104. Then we put in a 180. So that's done 4 ADR pretty much, give or take, in 2 days. In 3 days, it's done more than 4 ADR. They're knackered. Look, the argument is that there has been a profit take on that move because that is actually a 38 retracement. But we haven't had one on this. So happy to add into this one. Again, obviously, I need to. We're coming down into this massive multi-week accumulation, this area of balance. So this is where the market was happy to conduct business for multiple weeks. We will find buyers to support in here because the buyers are the ones that broke that accumulation. So there will be buyers in there. So in one, coming down, add another one somewhere down here, and then wait for that pullback on that move. So you've got either that kind of move or worst case scenario, we're looking for a pullback on that. Yeah, so it's going to be a fairly easy out when it does. Obviously, tomorrow afternoon could throw a spanner in the works. If we get negative CPI figures tomorrow, we could be finding ourselves back down at that previous monthly low at the bottom of that range. But what do people do at support resistance? Buy it. Yeah, so we've got a lovely support. So entry there, second entry possibly today if it pushes further. If CPI comes out negative tomorrow, could be looking at third entry down there. If that is the case, this thing is going to be down here somewhere. Yeah, they're going to need to pull that back fast and hard to get out of all these sell orders. So I'm not really worried about that one. It's you're getting in after a huge ADR push. Yeah, they're exhausted already, and they're getting more exhausted today. So not too worried about that. US dollar Swiss, same thing in that one from yesterday. Sorry, not from yesterday, from Friday. First entry, pulled down again. Swiss franc should be getting some strength come through with the euro, but we haven't got euro news for 2 weeks now. So there's no real catalysts on this. So hoping for a CPI push tomorrow. We're coming down to the monthly low here, which is 2 months ago. So perfect entry there for a second position. If we can get down to it. We've already covered this one this morning, haven't we? So yeah, so I can get rid of that alert now. So we've put a new low in. So support rectangle has dropped down nice and tight. So that'll be a nice tight entry. And that's plenty of distance now. That's 56 pips. ADR is 58. So that will be 1 ADR away, that second entry that I'll take this morning. So that's extended on your hourly. Below the 75 level, there's your original extension that I got into on Friday last week. Hoping that was going to be a sweep of the lows, but it wasn't. Well, it was, but then they stepped on the gas out of that propulsion gap. So yeah, hoping to get a bounce there. So second entry will go on down here somewhere. Average will come down and look to get out when they come and retest that low. At the moment, anyway, that's the plan. But that's an ADR as well. So we just mentioned that one, haven't I? So yeah, there's your US dollar pairs. DAX is stuck. I'm just going to protect these DAX trades. I don't like this. 157.24. I'm just locking in a profit. We're struggling at this level. If it breaks it, you know, it's going to flush. It's not a problem. If it doesn't break it, this is multiple attempts. Look, so we've pushed down, buyers bought back, had a second run at it, buyers bought it back. Yeah, inside bar, sellers tried a third run on it, buyers bought it back. Buyers won the last round in 5 minutes. Yeah, if this doesn't break this level, the sellers are basically going to go, screw this. They're going to get out, and they're going to be, when they get out, they need to buy. So as soon as these sellers become buyers, we're going to pop. If it pops, there's a chance that the sellers have just not got enough power to get down to this gap fill today. And if they can't, they'll have to come back later. So, or it'll get written off. So if this doesn't break this low, I'm going to bail on it this morning. US dollar yen, US dollar Swiss, New Zealand dollar yen. So we just looked at this one. This is the first ADR of the day. So that one is down below that previous monthly. So this is the weekly level we're looking at, coming all the way down to there. This is just about getting extended now on the hourly RSI. We didn't get it there. Got a nice bounce off it. Didn't get it there. Got a nice bounce. Hopefully we'll get this one. Wait for the bounce. So yeah, looks good. New Zealand dollar yen, that's also extended on the 4 hour as well. So again, same thing, 4 hour RSI extension. Pound US dollar, we've briefly looked at this morning. So difficult to know what's going to happen with it today, obviously. The news market hasn't bothered with it, not made any impact really at all. The pound news this morning. We're waiting for the CPI figures tomorrow before they're going to put any big moves in. The pound is bullish. We had Bailey talking yesterday. So Bailey's said basically we are increasing interest rates. Again, he's confirmed it. We know that. We've got potentially 1 to 1.25% increase coming over the next year for the pound, possibly by November. So there's a possibility they may try and hit terminal rate by November this year. That's going to be tough because that means we're going to have to go up 1% in the next sort of quarter. So that means 0.5 interest rate rises. As we've just seen this morning. Oh, here we go. Oh, there we go. That's good timing, isn't it? That's exactly what I just said, wasn't it, earlier? 70% chance of a 50 basis point rate hike now. So this is for August. So if you think August, September, October, November, that's 4 months. That's when the initial forecast was for terminal rate in November. So if we go up 50 in August, that leaves a 0.25 in September and a 0.25 in October. That takes us to 1%. Yeah, 1 to 1.25% is the forecast for terminal rate. So good potential basically for that to happen. That's bullish pound. We should be seeing the pound rally off the back of that. So if we were to get negative CPI figures tomorrow for the US dollar, this thing's going to fly. Because they're ready to go long on the pound. They just need confirmation of whether or not they should be going long or short on the US. If they get confirmation for shorts on the US, we'll get a big move on this tomorrow. So yeah, it's extended. But if we get the strong inflation figures for the US, we're potentially just going to carry on doing what we've been doing for the last few months. Yeah. So it is bullish overall, but you can take shorts on it. Yeah. If you look at all the trades I've taken here, I've taken 4 trades here. That's a short. That's a short. That one was a short, but that was part of those two. I got out of both of these at break even because I didn't like it. The pound is bullish. Yeah. So every time the EA is taking a sell on these, we're talking about this in the Telegram group yesterday. You know, I come in here and I say, this is a good short setup. However, yeah, I'm just covering the bases, explaining what the possibilities are. Whether you take a trade or not is up to you. I'm not right, yeah, all the time at all, as you know. If I was, I'd have a green P&L all the time. I don't. So I took a short there. I didn't like it because I was expecting bullish movement on the pound and US negative movement at the same time. So I broke even after it got into profit. It stopped me out. Same thing happened there. We had this massive rally and I got the short trade on. It pushed back down again. I didn't like it. So I put a break even on it and I got out. I should have kept it on. Yeah, I was right to take that short, or rather the EA was right to take that short on that extension. When you're a human being in charge, human beings make silly decisions. That's why we like to let EAs run the game for us, because obviously they don't make these silly decisions. But I got out, I shouldn't have. So that was a lovely short. So that one and that one would have been a beautiful exit. There's a long trade. Today, we've got a potential short entry. So there's nothing wrong with taking it. It might play out. If it doesn't play out, it's going to go the other way. But this is what I keep saying over and over again in here every single day. It doesn't matter how you get in or when you get into an entry. What matters is what you do after you've entered that position. Spacing and scaling your trades to give yourself an exit when the profit take move comes from the banks. So there is a short entry on it. However, all I'm doing is explaining fundamentals at the moment are potentially like that tomorrow, but they could also be like that tomorrow. We don't know. Yeah. And, you know, as the person in Telegram pointed out, I come in and say, this looks like a lovely setup, but I'm not taking it because that's just me, right? But there's always going to be a news event coming up for the US dollar, right? Every week. There's never a week we don't really have anything happening with the US dollar. So whenever you're trading any US dollar cross, there's always going to be in the next couple of days something that may fundamentally shift that US dollar into a different direction. But don't forget, if that happens and it does that and you're getting in short here, as long as you're getting in short here and here as that happens, when that happens, you're out, right? So even if the fundamentals shift on the US dollar and it suddenly changes direction, they will still put market structure in as they now go off in that new direction. The only time you get a parabolic move and a squeeze, which lasts for a long time, is when you get a fundamental shifts on two currencies at the same time. So looking at the pound US dollar as an example, if, for example, we go, this looks like a lovely short, and all of a sudden, Bailey comes out and says, actually, we're going to go to 7.5% on our interest rates. That's going to want to go nuts. And the US dollar news comes out that inflation has dropped by 1%. And then the Fed come out and say, screw this, we're not increasing rates anymore. That is going to fly to the downside. The pound US dollar is going to go up for weeks. Nothing you can do about it. It's highly unlikely that would ever happen. If it is business as usual, and as we've just heard, there's a 70% chance of a 0.5% hike on the pound, and the US dollar's inflation figure is slightly lower or slightly higher than expectations, this is going to go long, but it's going to go long like that. And as long as it does that, these are your exits. So it doesn't matter. But when you've got CPI figure is one of the big four: inflation, CPI, interest rates, GDP, and unemployment rate. Those are the big four fundamental drivers. So when you're about to take a trade the day before one of the big four fundamental drivers, that's when I think, if it's just another US dollar news coming out, not too worried. If it's a big four, that's when I think twice. That's the only reason. So that's kind of what I was explaining in Telegram yesterday, if you were in there. And when I say things like, this is a lovely H4 mean reversion opportunity, however, there's always a however. Yeah. Every time you take a trade, you have to look at what if. Your job as a trader is to go, I'm going to go long on this, but if it doesn't do that, what am I going to do? I'm going to look at this area here for a second entry, and then I'm going to look for a 24 bounce. You've always got to have a what if. That's my job, is to analyze and go, right, I like the look of this because, but if it does this, that's the other thing I'm going to do. You've just got to hit the button. So, sorry, just to explain that. Pound US dollar. They're buying this up, DAX. I don't hold out much hope for a break today. This is limit order buys basically here. Look, when I keep talking about limit order buys, look at this massive drop. Look at where it bounced. Right. Look at this break we had. Look at where it bounced. Where we're bouncing. Yeah. Not a coincidence. This is basically limit buys sitting here, and there'll be limit sells sitting there, which is why we bounced. Now we're back above that level. The limit buys are kicking back in. This is all algorithmic, all programmed. If above that price, limit order buy. If below that price, limit order sell. We've gapped up above, limit order buys are in play. Yeah, that's what's executing. So we need to see if there's enough people disagreeing today is to drive that down, but it's stuck at the minute. Pound US dollar, pound CAD, 4-hour RSI extension. Just about, obviously this has been extended now for a few days. I've been in this since last Wednesday. Initial order was on the H1 RSI extension, going short, pushed up, accumulated. We got a pullback on it, didn't get enough, obviously, pullback to exit. It wasn't far off, to be honest. Look, never mind. And it's rallied back up. So done a bit of drawdown control on that one this morning. Still in it. So it's good short, nicely extended. Yeah, we should be looking for a profit take. I just hope that isn't the profit take. But again, Canadian dollar, pretty much the same as the pound US dollar. Yeah, if we get a rally on the US dollar, we'll get a rally on the CAD. If we get a rally on the CAD, we'll get a rally on the US. Tomorrow afternoon, we've got US and CAD news. Canadian interest rates, US dollar inflation. So if they both come out as positive, we'll be down here. Won't be that far, but we'll be down here at least tomorrow. So we'll see. If they both come out green, that'll be down there. Euro US dollar. So got short on this. First entry on Friday. We had a little bit of a push down yesterday. They pushed into propulsion, pushed back out of it, brought it back up again, and it's rallied since. We're straight up now into that monthly level. So this is an hourly RSI extension and a 4-hourly RSI extension. Just above the 75. Yeah, so looking for that kind of move. We're up at the previous monthly. May or may not hold that level. If not, we're looking at the 2-month high, which is that double top, which is so not far away. It's only 150 ADR. So initial entry, if it does continue to rally, we'll take a second in there. If it hits that level, we should get a bounce back on that into propulsion, somewhere into this resistance, somewhere around there. Get out somewhere around there if it continues to push. Otherwise, might come down tomorrow. Again, this is going to go up or down tomorrow based on the CPI figure. Just waiting for the news. It's Euro US, Euro Yen. So all these yen pairs now are getting extended to the downside because we're on the profit take move from the squeeze, the multi-week squeeze. So we had 3 weeks of solid upward movement. We are now doing the elevator shaft version the other way. So we're looking for a pullback on this. So this is now getting extended. We're down at the 25 level on the RSI. We have already been there. You can see there was a buy order put in here. So there was a buy there off of the H1 RSI, which I quickly got in and out of while it was long, while it was short. So yeah, this is nicely extended now. So these yens are getting very extended now back down to the downside. The question is, how long is this yen rally going to last? So one of the things we've got to bear in mind, obviously, is if the US dollar powers up, that is going to have an impact on the yen as well. So we'll find out tomorrow, really, with those CPI figures, what the yen's reaction is going to be to the US rally or dump, depending on what happens. But if you want to start scaling into longs on these, they are all massive bull moves at the moment. We know that. Yeah. So this is a big bull move from everything against the yen. This is a pullback potentially on a continuation rally. Yeah. So this is just a pullback for potentially a long, or it could be peak formation high and we're going to turn into a bear move. Either way, it's got to pull back and have a rest. Yeah. All of them have. So euro yen, we're at the 24. So good potential 24 bounce at the moment. So whenever we're in a trend, you tend to find the 24 acts as support on the way. Yeah. If that fails, we get a push down to the 72. We typically get a bounce off the 72. So entry there, first entry. If it doesn't just go from there, then you will be scaling in down to here, here, or here. Yeah. Which is going to be classed as basically a 72 bounce. So that looks pretty good for a long. Euro's bullish. No reason why the euro shouldn't be powering up. It's not quite extended on the hourly. If it does get extended on the hourly, I'll be into that. I think I'm in Swiss yen short still, yeah. So taking the euro yen long and being Swiss yen short kind of hedges me. But yeah, so that's extended. We've got Euro CAD extended as well to the upside. One short on that from Friday. So a lot of these that I got into these shorts on Friday after this massive mammoth move hasn't happened yet. Nothing's happened. So that's the extension. All we did was accumulate for pretty much a day and a half, and then we've had a rally. So be looking for another short entry on that one. We got this level there. What on earth is that? That's that level there. So bounced into that level, came back, retested it multiple times. Then we used it as resistance multiple times. So that's the level I said, we've used this many times, this level as a bounce point. This is our first retest since the drop of that level. So potentially we might get a bounce off the 146.250 level. So look out for a second entry there. 7, that's going to be tight. 24. Leave my calculator open, really. That'd be tight. So if we do get a bounce off of that, it'll be tight as to whether I get a second on there. I'm set up to take entries 3/4 of an ADR apart. So, but yeah, good looking short at the moment. I think Euro CAD, and again tomorrow Canadian dollar strength or weakness, depending on what comes from the CPI and the interest rates. So this whole block here, yeah, from 1:30 to 4 o'clock is Canadian dollar and US dollar moving events. Everything is going to move off of these tomorrow, but mainly obviously the Canadian dollar and the US dollar. If they both come out in the same direction, we will get a very, very strong push on the US and the CAD. If they both come out in opposite directions, you'll find there's a bit of conflict and we'll get a bit of whipsawing. So it will be what it will be tomorrow. CAD yen. So first entry on this one this morning. Just put a TP on that. So TP will be that propulsion gap, which is a break of that low. Obviously, there's a hell of a lot of propulsion gaps to the upside on this. Yeah, but not going to get greedy against this thing. It's coming down like a steam train at the moment, isn't it? So this propulsion area here is our target to the downside for a second entry. First entry there, second entry there. Get out on a rally. Could come back down into that area. There's a week and a half long accumulation. Then we've got a big area of balance there that is down here. So if this does decide to come all the way back down and retest this area somewhere, it's just scale in 3 or 4 positions and wait. By the time it gets down there, it's going to be shot. I don't think it will. I don't think they'll be able to hold this on the yen. This strength is going to wane, and I think it'll probably be tomorrow when we get the news coming out for the Canadian and the US. So nice extension. That's extended on the 4-hour as well. So if you're trading the 4-hour M15 or 4-hour M5 mean reversion, you would have had your entry at the same time yesterday. Very, very similar strategies, those two. CAD Swiss, nicely extended to the downside. Got 2 buys on that at the moment. Again, same thing, Canadian dollar. It's all weakening ahead of that at the moment by the looks of things. Oh no, this is Swiss franc strength. So we've got the Swiss franc and the euro powering up today. Swiss franc. All the money's moving into the Swiss franc at the moment. So they're moving into the Swissy. Probably ahead of tomorrow. Swiss franc, if you want to be safe, you stick your money in the Swiss franc. So they're just moving into the Swissy today ahead of the news tomorrow. And then when they know where they want to put their money, they'll pull it back out the Swissy. So you probably find any Swiss franc trades you get into against this move will all undo tomorrow. So if you wanted to trade the Swissy. Oh, let's go DAX. Okay, new low on the DAX. So we are going to get the gap fill. CAD Swiss and Aussie dollar yen. 4-hour. We're just about to hit ADR on that one as well. Again, Aussie dollar and New Zealand dollar not doing particularly well. This monthly level is pretty much that resistance as well. So first entry, if you want to take it on the H4 M15 mean reversion or H4 M5, depending which time frame you want to enter on, but your reverse alert's going to be in there for a long. So all these yens getting very, very tired. We should be seeing some bounces start on these soon. New Zealand dollar yen RSI extension. So it's just a few more RSI extensions gone in there. Euro Swiss has just lit up as well on the hourly. It's only down to the 30 level, not below the 25. But yeah, nice levels coming up on that. So if you want to get into a first entry on that one, you've got 2 very nice range low supports coming up for bounces. Those would be the obvious, anywhere around there long. That propulsion gap would be your target. There we go. Aussie dollar CAD. Dark at the minute. So I'm in long on this at the moment. Target is that propulsion gap, which is the closest upside target. It's just gone nowhere. You know, it's stuck, isn't it? Since we got into that was the initial entry there. Only managed to get 2 positions on this, look. Third was on there, which I took off, expecting this to rally. And all we've got since I took that position off is 5 days sideways. So not going anywhere at the moment. Will do tomorrow. Hopefully up. The Canadians tomorrow, the interest rate is going to go up to 5. We are expecting it to go up to 5. So what we've experienced with other currencies when we get an as expected interest rate, instead of the big bullish movement, which is what we tend to normally expect, we've actually been getting bearish, haven't we? So looking at the New Zealand dollar, the reason we got into that Aussie New Zealand squeeze was because this was an as expected interest rate rise. You would not normally expect a currency to devalue that hard when the interest rates are as we were expecting them to be. So the banks obviously completely overpositioned on that and were expecting a rate rise and they didn't get one. Tomorrow, we are expecting a rise on the CAD. I wouldn't expect the CAD to go mental really in any direction. But if it is a bullish move, we should be, or a bullish rate, i.e. going up as we're expecting, we should see Canadian dollar rally. But it will depend on what the CPI figure for the US dollar is as well. So There is potential for this to drop. If it does, I'll be adding that position back on again somewhere around here. And if we stay in a range, I'll be out the lot. If it goes up, obviously I'll be out anyway. So either way, just got to deal with it. A minute, I'm waiting. It's not going anywhere. There's nothing you can do. Sideways. Michael, the buyer scorecard is not working. No, there's a problem with the feed at the moment. I need to look at it after the live room. US dollar CAD. Gap fill's done. So TP hit. Difficult to tell what the downside target's going to be from here, really. Yesterday's low is obviously there, so that would be a downside target, really, today. I wouldn't want to go much further than that. Sorry, that's yesterday's low down there. That's the New York session low. So that's your New York low. That is yesterday's low, which is the Globex low, which is the previous day's low as well. So if this is going to drop today, that would be your ultimate short target, 125 ADR. You're probably going to get a bounce here. So watch price action when we get to there. That's probably where you're going to get the bounce today. But if not, I mean, it's got to get beyond ADR, so that'll be tricky. But yeah, ADR low. I'll leave the target down there. I don't expect to get down there today. But break even on the second half, so it's profit today, regardless, whatever happens. So US dollar CAD, there's no entry at the moment for me on this one. This was the messy trade. Look, there was initial entry there. Entries there. Look at all these entries I've got on this. So these were aggressive drawdown control positions. So took one there, a bit of a scale out there. Took another one there. So 3 normal entries, 4 normal entries, aggressive. So I got out of that aggressive, stopped out of that aggressive, took another normal entry and an aggressive, got out of that aggressive, took another aggressive out, another aggressive out, and didn't manage to get out of all of it until all the way back over there. So multiple week hold, very nice profit out of the whole thing, but mess. So US dollar CAD, anything you enter on this thing today, yeah, you have the 2 largest news events for fundamentals for the US and the Canadian dollar for the entire month happening tomorrow afternoon within 2 hours of each other. What do you think you should do? It's pretty much flat line on the RSI. There's no directional bias. You're sitting bang in the middle of a range. Do you think there's a good trade opportunity there or not? Probably not. Today. I'll tell you tomorrow afternoon where the US dollar CAD's going, because it'll have gone there. I think it's going sideways. Yeah. Well, it is today. You're not going anywhere today. Yeah, there's no way the market is going to enter any speculative large positions on the US dollar CAD ahead of the largest news event of the month. It's not going to happen. So. And if it does happen, it's because they've had a leak. Yeah. When you get sometimes it doesn't happen very much these days, but it used to in the past. What used to happen in the past was you'd have a news event coming up, and all of a sudden, 2 hours before the news, it'd go boing. You'd be like, "What the hell? They got it leaked." It very rarely happens now. It used to happen a lot, and it was really annoying. It was about the time when I was looking into news trading as well, or one of the times I was looking into news trading. You know, and the whole purpose of news trading is you need to get on the news when it happens. And if they leak the news 2 hours before, that's it. Your trade idea is gone, isn't it? So, but yeah, don't know. Could go anywhere. Tomorrow, that one. Not one I would entertain at the moment. Right, that's all for this morning. DAX play is still off, so off and running. So we'll see if we can get that down to the lows. As I said, I'd be wary about targeting that level. I've stuck my TP there. You never know, it might hit. More likely that for a bit of a bounce today. But we'll see. So at the moment, it's not really rallying much beyond the gap fill. They seem to be buying that up. But up to you. So you've got two options. You can either hold it for one of those TPs, or if you're on it, you can shut it now and just take whatever you've got, which, to be honest, is probably not a bad idea, judging by the price action at the moment. But just over 1%. So I'm just going to leave that running. Go for the runner. Morning, Tony. When scalping the DAX or the Dow, do you look ADR for legs, as in it's moved a third of an ADR, so possible pullback is coming? No. No, don't use ADR in that respect. You could do. I mean, if you think there's an edge there, test it. But for every time you can give me an example of that happening, I can give you an example of it not having any impact whatsoever. Same as everything. Yeah, you can use it. So you could say, if we pushed up a third of an ADR, we're likely to get, I mean, it didn't pull back there, did it? Can't even see a case of it happening, to be honest. On that chart, anyway. But no, not looked into it. The best theory is Al Brooks's theory on the 1.5 hour time limit. So that tends to be pretty damn accurate. So 1.5 hours after the open. So on this chart here, for example, it would be there. Yeah. So 1.5 hours after the market open, with pretty much a 90% probability, you have found the high or the low of the day. You don't know which, but if you go back and back test this 1.5 hours into a session, you will usually have the high or the low already in. So where we are now, for example, if we were to do that for the next 20 minutes, that has a kind of 90% chance of being the low of the day. Or that was the open. So somewhere up here, that's probably the exchange open. That is the high of the day with a 90% probability. One of those two is true. Which one? You don't know. So it doesn't actually help you dramatically in any kind of analysis, because we still have a 50-50 chance of one of those things being true. Doesn't give you a competitive edge. But if you have a bias, for example, if you are thinking we're going to go for the gap fill long because the gap fill short is complete, an entry down here with a stop somewhere down there, for example, just giving yourself some space. If that is the low of the day, you know with pretty much certainty you're going to end up in profit today. Because if it pushes from here, it's more likely the upside gap fill is going to be the target and the low of the day is in. So if you're looking for an entry long today because you believe the upside gap fill is done, wait until 11:30 this morning and then press the buy button. Stick your stop under the low. You've got a 90% chance of not hitting your stop. If it's the low of the day that's in. If it's the high of the day that's in, you are going to stop out and it's never going to come back here. But how does that help you? You've missed that. Yeah, see what I mean? But it is true. 1.5 hours into a session, works in New York, works on all indices. 1.5 hours into the session, go back and back test it. 90% of the time, the high or the low of the day is in. It's done its movement and has found that that is not going to get invalidated, or that is not going to get invalidated. But think about it, it doesn't help you, does it? If you go long here, right, and that is the one, it's going to go down, so you're wrong. If you go long here, and that is the one, it's going to go up and you're going to be right. Your odds are the same, 50-50. It just gives you more confidence if it does that for the next hour or two, that, all right, I'll break even that, because there's a good chance we might invalidate that, because if that's the 90%, that one could get invalidated. But don't forget, there are 3 things that can happen. You can go on a bull day, a bear day, or a rotation day. Yeah. So even if you get the low of the day right, doesn't mean it's going to break the high of the day. We could just go into rotation and you're going to end up at the end of the New York session there. Whoop-de-doo. Yeah, there's 3 things that can happen. You can end up with a bull candle, a bear candle, or an inside bar or outside bar rotation. Good theory though. I've proved it. I've also tried to incorporate it into the opening range breakout EA to find an edge. Couldn't find one. Couldn't find a way to exploit it. Euro Swiss ADR. Oh, we are getting some Swiss franc strength today. Huge Swiss franc move on the cards. I mean, chances of it getting down to 150 ADR or beyond is obviously 12%. But if it does get to 150 ADR, that'd be a lovely little buy there. Look how far it's got to go to the propulsion target. That will be ADR. 1 ADR, at least 1 ADR. 1.25 ADR to the upside target. Potential. But just watch that. You can monitor that now. Take an entry if you wanted to. As soon as you get a break, the high of that candle, reversal alert. That's still dropping. Well, it's not actually. It's stuck at that low, but looking like it wants to carry on dropping. Okay, that's all I've got for you today. So anything you need, let me know in Telegram. I will be in there. I'll be back this afternoon at 2:20 for the US session. As I say, there's no news today. So any movement we get today is purely positioning ahead of tomorrow. And tomorrow, obviously, it's the New Zealand dollar rate, which is going to stay the same. Well, it's expected to stay the same. We've got the inflation figures, and then we've got the Canadian rate, which is expected to rise. That's where we're going to get the movement in the BOC press conference. So, yeah, we'll see what happens today, but we'll look at it this afternoon, see if there's any new ADRs lit up. But if there are any today, good mean reversion opportunities and good chance of V-shaped recoveries. Market's just pushing, usually, that sort of move. Obviously, in reverse this time, because there's absolutely no reason they should really be positioning themselves on anything today. So it's probably just money in, money out type plays. So, okay, I'll be back this afternoon, 2:20, or back tomorrow morning, 7:50, if you are not around. So have a good day, and I will see you guys later.